dilation and activity. At the same time, it shuts down the dopamines and acetylcholines, which is actually more for elimination. Now, there's a sodium-potassium ratios also that can be involved. I don't know. You know, there could be other steroids involved with this. I don't know. And there also is pituitary hormones involved in kidney function as well. So we've got a lot of things to consider here. The thing is that we're on a new adventure here with very little research. Their heads are still up their butts pretty far right now, and they're still working on antiquated theories that they need to just scrap science and start over a little bit. It'd probably do them a lot better and drop a lot of these ridiculous theories that everybody holds. And I think it's important that you all realize that basically we live in a world of theories. Actualities are more like what you see in nature and what you guys are doing. That's the difference between true TV and a soap opera. When it comes to awakening the adrenals, it seems you don't have to have low blood pressure to have semi-functioning adrenals. No, but as you get those adrenal glands cleaned up, and I'll say this, you know, it's kind of like this two-way street. The adrenals are affected greatly, obviously, in all situations of stress and everything else because of the neurotransmitters and the autonomic nervous system connection to the adrenals. That's obvious. Then you have all the steroid production. Well, because of the high protein diets and the slamming of the kidney tissue, then that resulted back to the lymph problems in the adrenals, which exacerbated further neurotransmitter and steroid problems. So now you're seeing just through the years of this, the adrenals getting weaker and weaker and weaker, and the actuality of this is most people have some degree of chronicness to their adrenal glands. So in reality, when you go on a raw food diet and you start removing all these stimulants out of your diet and out of your life, and you start eating energetically nutritional foods, then you're going to see your adrenals kind of slide to their genetics. All the hyperstimulation from acidosis is going to leave. Acidosis initially hyperstimulates or can hyperstimulate tissue, thus in hyperthyroidism and hyper a lot of things. But the always hyper goes into hypo. Overactivity actually ends up into low activity because the resulting decay of the cells from the acids that are or the stimulants that are creating the hyperactivity. And it's just the classic work with that. So you will tend to see low blood pressure. Now, if you don't get too low, I'm pretty happy because that shows that the adrenals aren't that weak. So you just have to correlate that between your iris photos and how you're feeling, where your blood pressure is, that sort of thing. Take a look at that. Sex drives and all these things. Women can look at their estrogens, men their testosterones, and so forth and so forth. Can you explain what other ways the adrenals go offline without affecting blood pressure versus how they go offline and affect blood pressure? Thanks, man. I appreciate it, bro. Well, I think that in terms of low blood pressure, now in terms of high blood pressure, I'm always going to relate that to the kidneys. Unless you have the swinging high blood pressure, and remember that comes from the cerebellum medulla area. But the steady high blood pressure, always kidneys, and then you start to see the bags, and then you start to see the deterioration there of the kidneys, which being the adrenals on top, they're, man and wife, if you will. So they're both going to decay together. I bet when the iris pictures are in, I see a lot of fairly good kidneys, but always weak adrenals. So I can't tell you outside of that. It's just that the years of the high proteins and that effect upon kidney tissue has resonated back into the adrenals and weakened them considerably. The high stress, of everything. Driving is very stressful. Traveling is very stressful. Money situations. I mean, everything. Mate situations. So that definitely shuts on the adrenals, and you have that side of it. Just what man's created for himself, a bunch of crap. I mean, the price of an average home and car is so ridiculous, it's not even funny. You're locked in there forever. You're working for the man forever. But that's what they want. Thanks for your question, Scorpius. This is HERMELIN 12. Hello. I'm interested in natural hygiene. Love the people. The great area to get into and feel like it's the truth, but totally. I mean, you can't deny anything. There was a discourse series. Let's see if I can get to that a little bit here without disturbing everything. This is Feeling Fit for Life, presents in natural hygiene. This is one heck of a PhD course that the natural hygienic people came out with. I hate to see the fact that they're not more than they are. The natural hygienic people are really the foundation for health. They've been around a really long time, and I would love to finish that coursework, but never have the time to finish that up. But extremely great information, volumes of it. I forget there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, or 13 volumes. A lot of coursework, a lot of chemistry, a lot of good stuff in there to help you, because the natural hygienic people pretty much tore it apart themselves. The thing where they fell off is considering herbs toxic. That was a big mistake from them, and that's okay, you know. But I found them to be just quite the opposite, and so did most animals on the planet. So where they get their information on that's ridiculous. However, you're going to find all kinds of deep levels to this, and all kinds of ideas of magnetics and energetics, and how much nutrition do we really need, or do we need any nutrition at all? Is it really about nutrition? Is it more about magnetics? I mean, there's a whole realm of thinking, and that's why in the class I brought you some of those old books. And anything by McFadden, well, not even McFadden, Raymond Bernard. One of my favorites, of course, is Professor Hotima, George Clements. These people had out there in their thinking, and there's so many of them like that, and I just love that. So this is the kind of thinking man should have perpetuated and went on and drop allopathy, because that's a dead end street. That's a killing machine out of control. We've got to reform a whole world here, and I don't know whether that's got to shake some of the toxins off of it first. I don't know. But hope you do well in natural hygiene. They offer a good PhD course, if they still, in fact, are offering that. But just a lot of great information there in terms of the raw and the chemistry, and why not the proteins and stuff, and more accurate information than what's out there. But I am struggling with the starches often, and then I wonder, well, just remember the starches. This is all simply candida problems, fungal problems, and that's where the herbs come in and help with that, in breaking down some of that candida. Moving lymph, of course, will finally clean it all out of you, that sort of thing. Always going to have low levels of this just for fermentation factors. There's probably not many of us that don't ferment at one form or another. If you're eating meat, then you can add putrefaction to that list. Like Dr. McGoogle and Campbell and so on are right. You know what? I don't know what these guys' theories are on this sort of thing, but either one of those people I don't really hold as real credible in terms of what they know about deeper tissue regeneration and stuff. Maybe you sometime could comment on this one, but I have to say that your videos... Oh, thanks, sweetheart. Thanks, Herman. You know what? Starches is just too much sugar. That's all starches are. It's just too much sugar, and we're meant for simple sugars, but complex sugars we're not. We're meant for simple fatty acids, but fats we are not. We're meant for amino acids, but proteins we are not. See what I'm saying? If you follow that line and understand that complex nutrition is not designed for the Homo sapien, nor most species in actuality, simplicity in digestion and absorption, bottom line to most functions of the cell, is energy. Because if you look at it, the cell, as apart from the mother, before it became the embryo and the fetus, as it was moving toward the embryo, it wasn't hooked up. So how does the energetics of that all happen? And that's what I'm saying. The power is in the cell. The power is in consciousness and energetics. And that's an area that's hard for man to comprehend, because he's still dragging his feet in the world of chemistry, and dead chemistry, I might add. Once we realize we got to quit sucking earth and dirt and zeolite stuff and start getting into more refined magnetics and fine energy, it'll pick us up out of the earth and pick our consciousness up and allow you to expand your awareness and get out of the earthly diggings of the earth. Even the Native Americans didn't like to dig too deep. They didn't like to, I remember one mystic Indian was talking and made a comment in reference to they were trying to teach these Native Americans to put in gardens, and they said, "You want me to rip my mother's skin and dig her bones out?" So I thought it was pretty good. You know, it's like plant a tree, but, you know, that's a higher way of doing it. But, you know, I mean, it's all just creation. Nothing dies. It's all what it is. You know, it's just thought forms creating images, and those images are molecularly involved with atoms, and basically an atom is a little unit of consciousness. Oh, this is Cooley, M-A-U-S-I-S. Hey, man. Hi, guys. Just checked in to get your thoughts on Coconeutral. What is it? Coconeutral. I've started using it now to kill unwanted bacteria in my gut. Thanks. Well, there's so much about the unwanted bacteria in the gut, isn't there? You seem to see a lot of that. I have to tell you that bacteria grows according to culturing mediums. And so it's all culturing medium is the problem. And that means that's your lymph and your gut and the type of food you're eating and the impactions on the wall and everything else. That's why you clean up the gut. If you're hyper-focused on bacteria, that's not what I would do because you need it. It's only going to culture in the medium that'll culture it. So that's why you clean out all this rancid, putrefactive mucoid plaque on the wall. You get the lymph moving and all that. And then the proper bacteria for the food you're eating will culture just fine and you won't have any problem. Trying to culture bacteria in a medium that doesn't culture it, or culturing the gnarly ones in a very corrosive medium, absolutely. It's all about the sewage in the human body, one way or another, where it's impacted or just the lymph. So cleaning your body out would be much more conducive to getting your health back. You always want to have bacteria. Hey, man, German kelp. What is the connection with the liver and the spleen to bone marrow? Well, it's not so much to bone marrow as it is to red blood cells and keeping the blood clean. The blood cleans itself in the spleen, cleans it to the lymph system. The spleen is a lymph and blood organ, but it's a place where the blood refurbishes itself. And the liver, of course, is the chemical transmutation factories. So you have a lot going, and don't forget the adrenal connection to iron and things, which has then a connection to hemoglobin, which then has a connection to hematocrit. See, it all is interconnected. That's why you can go crazy trying to balance out your blood work, but it's so much better to focus on the health of it and get all these tissues healthy. The liver and spleen, the spleen deals with the platelets and stuff, but the bone marrow is where all the white blood cells and platelets are produced. But at the same time, the spleen is a place that the red blood cells are broken down and refurbished, cleaned. The blood cleans itself into the lymph system. So it's always good to have these two tissues cleaned up. I always go after these two specifically and leukemias. These are the blood cancers. So I definitely clean up these two and go after the bone marrow as well. Absolutely. Anytime I come back to raw foods from a junk food trip. I know. I tell you what, though. This is Waltzing Matilda. Tilly. Funny name. But that's a long time since I heard that kind of comment. But, oh, absolutely. And I think I admire you for admitting that trip from a junk food trip. I mean, this is just the human nature. And people have too much judgment out there, the people that make these junk food trips. I work with